Well, we make our fifth signing of the summer with Maxwell Cornet coming into the team on Friday. And things, are looking a little bit chirpier, aren't they? I think West Ham fans were kind of worried as to whether we were going to add any more players to the squad after the fourth signing about a week and a half ago. And like we did it. We got Maxwell Cornet in, and a very good signing indeed. A player that is going to be quite versatile in a number of positions for West Ham United, and it was a very, very good signing indeed. But as we look to currently to improve the current squad, a number of new names have appeared. Sort of outgo the names of yesterweek of Kostic, Zielinski, and Onana, and in come a number of other players. And in his pre-match press conference on Friday, David Moyes kind of surprised me in a way, because he suggested that there was much more work to do in the transfer market in order to fill certain areas. He didn't specify what those areas were going to be, but it was good to hear that the manager was very clear that it's obvious that even he knows, obviously, that we need a few more players through the door. How many are we going to get? I don't know. But I think it's good that we hear that a number of bids are being put in. David Moyes talked about how difficult it was at the moment, putting a lot of bids in, but players rejecting us for one reason or another, whether that be because they don't want to come, because the financial package wasn't right, or whatever it is. But it's good to see that they're actually continuing to put bids in, and our business isn't finished yet. So I think that may answer a few questions. Certainly answers the question about people asking, well, what is Rob Newman doing for his money? It's evident that he is out there scouting players, scouting leagues, etc., looking for the best fit for West Ham United. And it also maybe puts a little bit of a sort of a stop on, and I'm guilty of it, a bit of a stop on calling David Moyes a bit of a ditherer. Because when you kind of listen to what happens, look at what happened with Jesse Lingard, for example. Look at what's recently happened with Amadou Onana. When you find yourself in situations like that, there's not much you can do as a manager. There's not much you can do as a club. And I think, by the way, for the record, that West Ham United did the right thing with both those players, with Jesse Lingard and Amadou Onana, when they turned around and said, well, no, we're not going to give in to these ridiculous demands that you're requesting. We've got a structure within the club with regards to wages and salaries, etc., and we're going to stick to that. And I think they did absolutely the right thing in that respect. So we move on. And there's so many players that we're being linked with. I mean, I mentioned already Maxwell Cornet. He's going to be a great player for us in terms of his versatility. I've talked about, he can play at left back, he can play at left wing back, he can play left midfield, he can also play at right wing, sort of cutting in a bit like Jared Bowen does. He can even play as a striker. So we've got a versatile player. We've got another Antonio on our hands, in a way, where Antonio has played a number of different positions and did well in all of them. I think we've got Cornet being going to be about the same. So it's fantastic that we got him in, and I think it's great. I'm going to do a show after the West Ham Man City game in the week, to talk about our squad and talk about the players that we've got so far, and talk about what they're going to bring to West Ham, and Cornet will be part of that. But tonight's show is all going to be about the latest transfers, because there is so many that have come up. It's quite incredible, really, with the transfers that we've been linked to. And like I said at the beginning of the show, out go the old names of the Kostiches and the Onanas and the Lingards and all that sort of stuff, and the Zielinskis, and in come a number of other players. And let's start at the back, shall we? Because one name that's come up in the last day or so is that of Cody. Quite a surprise, I think. Look, I think we all know about Cody. We've seen him play for Wolves. We've seen him play for England. He's a very decent centre-back, 29 years of age. And I think from what we see on social media, if Wolves are really going to let Cody go, I think the Wolves fans are going to be up in arms over it. He's been with the club since 2015 when he got signed from Huddersfield. He's been with them through the bad times and getting them up into the Premier League, etc. And he's a good leader. But of course, Cody, with the World Cup coming up, is a little bit worried about whether he's going to get as much game time uh, as he hopes he does in order to be part of Gareth Southgate's England squad this winter. And it's understandable. Will he get more game time at West Ham? Yes, I dare say at the moment he probably will. We've got a number of problems in defence ongoing. And of course, it hasn't been helped with buying Naya for Gerd, and unfortunately him getting injured almost immediately after signing for us. And he's going to be out of Gerd for at least 3 months and could be for a bit longer. And we've got other issues at the moment. We've got issues with Ogbonna. Apparently, he won't be ready for maybe another month or so. And even when he does come back to full fitness, there's going to be a massive question mark with Ogbonna, who's been a fantastic servant for West Ham United. But it might be a season too much for him in the Premier League. I'm just going to be worried about the amount of pace he might have lost, not only because of the injury, but also because of his age at 34. And I think Moyes is probably thinking to himself, as much of a soldier he's been, maybe we can't really rely on Ogbonna for the whole season. And then we got Craig Dawson, and we kind of know he's had a few knocks. He struggled throughout last season. He was fighting through pain in order to play for the team. And he did superbly, but he's not had much preseason. He's had like 60 minutes in the game against Lens, and that's been it. And he came off, probably pulled off as a precaution in the Lens game. But Craig Dawson as well, carrying the knocks last season and playing through the pain barrier. Maybe David Moyes is thinking, hang on a minute, maybe I may not have Dawson for the whole season either. And then there comes to Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma has looked a little bit sluggish in pre-season. I think he'll pick up. It takes a bit of time. He's kind of the kind of player that will take a little bit of time to get back into the swing of it. So I'm not suggesting Zouma would be dropped, but certainly you're going to need someone that's a little bit lively next to Zouma in order to, play, be that strength. And of course, David Moyes was considering that to be Agerd, but Agerd's not there. We can do makeshift centre backs, of course. Quite likely against Man City, we might see a three at the back with perhaps Johnson, Zouma and Cresswell, Johnson and Cresswell, either side of Zouma. It might be that, but that's makeshift. And yeah, Cresswell rejuvenated as a left-sided centre back, but again, it's not his natural position, is it? So when it comes to Conor Coady, yes, will he get game time? Absolutely. And again, what David Moyes is like. David Moyes is a loyal man. If Conor Coady plays well and keeps playing well, there's absolutely no reason why Conor Coady will be dropped when other players come back and full match fitness. So great. Now the only thing with Coady is he plays really well, good passing ability, etc. when he plays in a back three. Would he struggle in the back four? Don't know. There's been a suggestion that he might do. He plays in a back three for England. He plays in a back three for Wolves as well. And maybe Wolves, Largate might be looking at changing that up and maybe seeing Coady as maybe not fitting in as well. They've strengthened at the back as well. So that's going to be even more challenging for Coady to keep his place. But he's a good player. He's physically strong in the air. He's a decent player. Like I said, he's a good leader. And he'd be someone that I'm sure would be interested in. And in his games last season, he averaged 1.1 tackles per game, 1.1 interceptions, decent pass accuracy rate of 81%, good aerial success rate. So we know what he's like. We know what we're going to get from him. He's made 417 senior career appearances throughout his whole career, scoring 16 goals and 14 assists last season, 42 appearances and 4 goals. He's got Premier League experience, international experience. He's played for England 10 times. He'd be a very decent, solid backup. But the only thing maybe at the age of 29 for 23 million pounds, that might be it's quite a lot of money for a player of that age. Not suggesting he's too old, but maybe having to fork out that much money could be a slight hindrance. And of course, there's we also hear that Everton are very interested in the player as well. Next up, apparently we've made a bid for him, but you know, who knows? Social media, you know what it's like. Marcos Senesi of Feyenoord, another central defender, is contracted with Feyenoord until 2023, valued at around about £13 million, and is a bit younger as well. He's 25 years of age. Left-footed central defender. He's rated as a progressive defender, sort of a player that is quite. He'll step forward quite a lot in order to anticipate the play. Now, of course, when you step forward like that, sometimes you get caught out. If you're not making the right play, you can get caught out behind. He can also be outpaced. Not the most rapid of defenders, so he can possibly in the Premier League be outpaced by quite fast attacking players. But he's got a good passing ability. He's a good ball carrier. He can carry the ball out of defence, and he's very dominant in one-to-one duels. Now, look, I don't know. The story goes that apparently we've made a bid. I can't corroborate that. I'm not an ITK, but it'd be interesting to see whether this has got any legs in it at all. His player stats for last season, 1.8 tackles is very good. 1.6 interceptions, a very good pass accuracy rate of 85%, very good aerial duel success of 68%, and also a decent ground duel success rate of 58%. In his whole career, he's made 176 appearances, scoring 10 goals with 10 assists. Last season, he played 50 games, 3 goals and 3 assists. He's an Argentine international, Dutch league experience, and he's made 1 appearance for Argentina. So another one that will be interesting because he can also potentially, although it's not his game, he could also potentially be used either as a left back or the left side of a back two. He progressed. He went to the Dutch club 3 years ago. He was signed for in 2019 from Argentine club San Lorenzo for a fee of £6 million. It's suggested that Bournemouth are also joining the race, and it's also suggested that perhaps they might be a bit more advanced to signing the player than we are. Another decent player, yeah. Again, he'll possibly do a job. If I'm looking at him between him and Cody, I would probably look at Cody and say, for experience in the Premier League, especially, of course, you might favour Cody. But in terms of price, etc., then Cody could be quite a high value for a 29-year-old player. Next up is a player that we spoke about, I think, about a year ago. Attila Szalai from he plays for Fenerbahce. Contracted with them till 2025, valued at around £13 million, and he's 24 years of age as well. Another left-footed player. Now, what's good about this player is he's got much more versatility in his play. He can play as a left-sided centre-back of a 2. He can play in a left side of a back 3. He can also play as a traditional left-back, and he can also play as a left wing-back as well. He's an interesting character. He came through quite an interesting time. I mean, he currently plays for Fenerbahce, but they bought him off a Cypriot club called Apollon Limassol in 2021 for a fee of £1.8 million. In fact, he almost didn't make senior league football throughout his time when he played in the youth ranks of in the Hungarian youth ranks. He then moved to Austria, etc., at the age of 14. And it almost didn't work for him. And he had to go back. It didn't work out for him in Austria. He had to go back to Hungary and play in the Hungarian Premier League for a club called Mezek Gosved. But during his time in Hungary, ironically, he made his debut for his national side, making 16 appearances. And then he was spotted by a scout, which took him to Cyprus. I mean, the Cypriot league is certainly not any better than the Hungarian league, but probably even worse, to be quite honest with you. But ironically, that was the platform to get him a move to Fenerbahce, and that's where his stature has grown. He's really good. He's strong in the air. He's like I said already, he's a versatile player. He loves driving forward when he plays as a defensive wing back, but he has very, very good defensive qualities. He's not the sort of player that will slack in his defensive duties. He's a Hungarian international as well. Last season, he made 1.1 tackles, 1.1 interceptions, much the same as Cody's. Pass success rate of 81% as well. He's made 162 career appearances, scoring 12 goals and 7 assists. And last season, he played 42 games, scoring 1 goal with 2 assists. He's got Turkish league experience, also Europa and Europa Conference League experience as well. And he's made 27 appearances for the Hungarian national team. He's a very interesting player. Would he be good enough for the Premier League? I don't know, but he's certainly a player that's I think a lot of us need to keep an eye on. He actually played in the Euros last year and made quite an impression for the Hungarian team as well. Next up is a left back, Alejandro Grimaldo of Benfica. This Spanish under-21 international is contracted with Benfica until 2023. He's valued at about £18 million. He's now 26 years of age, and it's been suggested that Man City are also potentially interested in this player. Another player that is a traditional left back, but again, he can play as a left wing back. He's got very good positional play. He tracks his runners. He knows of the dangers around him. If you remember, one of the criticisms I have of Arthur Masuaku was sometimes he let the game go past him. He wasn't tracking players back. He was more ball watching than he would look out for players that would ghost him and run past him. Grimaldo doesn't do that. Grimaldo is aware of what's around him. He tracks players. He's quite astute as to what movements the opposition are going to go for. And also for a left back, left wing back, he's got a very decent goal scoring and assist record as well. A lot of wing backs, they focus more on their attacking game. It's more about how far forward they can get and beating players and crossing the ball and etc. And that's important for him. But Grimaldo is what you would call a proper defender. He thinks defensively as well as going forward. Last season, his average stats were 1.7 tackles per game, 1 interception per game, a good pass success rate of 85%. Decent aerial duel success, but not strong at 41%, but good ground duel success at 53%. In his senior career, he's made 248 appearances, scoring 19 goals with 51 assists. And last season alone, in 47 games, he played 6 games and 9 assists. Portuguese League experience, Champions League experience as well with Benfica. And like I said, he's been a Spanish under-21 international as well. And then next up, of course, is we no sooner do we sign one Ivorian, another one comes along, doesn't he? Ibrahim Sangare, or Sangara, sorry. Now, it's interesting. Now that we've dropped our interest, or seemingly dropped our interest in Amadou Onana, we're moving on. We're not going to stand still and wait for Onana and try and negotiate something with him. We kind of realise now that the Onana deal is dead in the water. Now, a lot of people are asking, well, why didn't we find out sooner rather than later as to what Onana's expectations were, salary, etc. The understanding is that there was talk about, what his salary expectation was and so on. And his sister is also his agent, or one of his agents, decided to change the goalposts at the last minute and look perhaps, what she may have done is look perhaps to put the player up in a bidding war. He is the biggest client to the agency that he's attached to. And he's going to be a massive cash cow for them. Apparently, the deal was already agreed, the £34 million deal for West Ham, which that agency would have picked up a cool £7.5 million for. And any deal in his salary, the agency would have picked up a percentage of his salary as well. But clearly, his sister thought that he was valued more. I don't think anything has still happened yet for Everton. Maybe they're still in negotiations, and maybe those negotiations aren't going as well as they thought. So with Onana, it looks like it's a dead duck. So we're moving on. Ibrahim Sangare, a defensive midfielder, considered to be a very hard-working player, very demanding presence on the pitch, and a very good ball carrier. That should say great short passing play. You always know I get a spelling wrong. great short passing play. Not so good when he's trying to do more complex passing. He's better at getting the ball out from defence or helping the defence move the ball away. And he's good at the short passes, 1-2s, getting the ball, moving it forward, getting the ball, moving it forward. If he tries the long range passing, etc., it doesn't quite work for Sangare. But we don't always want our players to just play the long ball. We find that a bit boring, don't we? We want them to play it out from a defensive midfield role. One other good thing is he's got good shooting range. He doesn't score that many goals, but he's got a very, very good shooting range. And like I said, one of the things about him is he works. He's a workhorse. He works hard for the team, and he's become quite integral to PSV. Now, one of the things with PSV is they're in the early stages of Champions League. It may be a bit like Kostic that Sangare would relish playing more Champions League football than moving away from that. So I think we've got to see what happens with that. He's comfortable in a 4-2-3-1 formation that PSV play, but PSV will also change it sometimes to 4-3-3, and he becomes the pivot in the middle of that three. So when you have your other three midfielders sort of surging more forward, it'll be Sangare who would probably sit a lot closer to the defensive line than moving forward. Last season, his average tackling is very high indeed. 3.3 average tackles per game, 2.6 interceptions per game, pass success rate of 86%, very decent in aerial duels as well at 73%, but also very decent in ground duel success rate as well at 61%. In his senior career, he's made 175 appearances, scoring 7 goals with 11 assists. Last season alone, 48 appearances, 4 goals and 4 assists. He's had French and Dutch league experience, Europa League experience, and he's an Ivory Coast international, Ivory Coast teammate of Cornet, with 24 appearances and 5 goals so far. So that's your lot. That's a sort of a rundown of the latest players that we're supposedly linked to, and we're going to buy. We're going to buy them all, aren't we? But I think what's good is like I said, I think David Moyes himself has said our business is not done yet. So look out for some of these. And when we do have an update on any of those players and any of those stories, I'll bring them to you. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, the usual stuff, hit the like button, subscribe button, and hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. My next show will be a preview on Sunday morning of our game between West Ham United and Man City. So look out for that on Sunday morning. And then I'm back on Monday night with the live show, the West Ham Weekly Show. And as usual, there'll be a number of other shows coming up during the week as well. So look out for those too. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all very soon.